quickly. So Deborah Harrell is a single mom. She has a daughter who's 9 years old, and the mom works at McDonald's, okay? So during the summer, when the kid had no school, the daughter came with her to McDonald's and would sit there and play on her laptop while her mom made the fries or whatever. Well, their house was burglarized. Somebody took the laptop, and now there was absolutely nothing for the kid to do at McDonald's except eat, I guess. And so she started asking her mom, "Mom, will you just drop me off at the park? Drop me off at the playground. It's the summer. Let me play." And there's a playground between them and the mom's workplace, McDonald's, where there's tons of kids. There's a breakfast program, there's a lunch program, there's sprinklers, there's never less than 40 kids there. It's the place you'd want to be in the summer, right? It's a playground in the summer. The girl is 9. Mom drops her off day 1. Mom drops her off day 2. She has a cell phone with her. If she needs anything, she can call her mom. Day 3, there's been a woman looking at her every day. It's the 3rd day. She comes up to the girl and she says, "Who are you here with?" And the girl says, "Nobody, I'm here by myself." And she says, "Where is your mother?" And the girl says, "My mom is working." And the woman said, "Uh-huh." Whips out her phone and dials 911. The police come, okay? They take the girl away. Then they go to McDonald's and they arrest the mom. They arrest the mom for negligence and abuse. They throw her in jail. This is a bad mother. And as it was reported on television, the report came on so horribly. It was down in South Carolina, and it says, "A mom confesses to abandoning her child at a park." And when people started sending this story to me, knowing that I get upset about these things, I thought, oh, this isn't a story for me because I don't think anybody should abandon their child. But then, in the television report on it, it interviews a woman and said, "Well, this girl was just here by herself, and I saw her, and I thought anything could happen. There could be a predator. There could be an abduction." And so the reporter says, "Fortunately, the girl somehow was not harmed, but now she's safe. She's in Child Protective Services." So, anyways, eventually the lawyer for her called me, and I found out the story was that she'd had a cell phone, that the mom knew where she was, that it was this popular park, that there were tons of children there. She's 9 years old, for God's sakes, not abandoning a 3-year-old there. But they kept the mother in jail overnight. How long did she have to wait before she got her daughter back? 17 days. 17 friggin' days. That kid is in foster care while her mother frantically, desperately wants her back. Her mother, who only wanted her to have a day in the park like most of us did when we were growing up, age 9, playing outside. And it became this huge story, I'm happy to say, with everybody defending the mom. But the reason that had been originally given, and the reason that people say, no, this was bad, is because they're imagining what if something bad happened. What if that statue came and raped somebody? What if I felt bad? What if somebody came and kidnapped this child in the middle of a throng of children in a bright sunny day? It doesn't happen. You know, most crimes against children are committed by people they know. Nobody wants to snatch a kid from a popular park at 9 years old where she could say, get away, or she could call her mother. And the idea that this woman was a good Samaritan who called the police, no. You know what a good Samaritan does? Says, where's your mom? She's at work. Okay, well, honey, I'm here with my kids. If you need anything, let me know. If you get a scrape, I've got a Band-Aid. If you need a snack, I brought extra animal cookies. That's a good Samaritan. A bad Samaritan, a KGB-esque American, is somebody who immediately calls in the authorities and has a woman put away for having the temerity to have a job.
They don't know what the KGB is.
Oh, the KGB is in Russia during communism. That's right. The KGB was the secret police. They would take people away in the middle of the night. Say you said, "Gee, I think Stalin's bad." Oh, there you went. You would never be seen again. They were the ones who were watching, and they would all. Back in the days of the Soviet Union, you never knew who you could even trust, because I might tell you, like, can you believe how bad Stalin is? And you'd go, yeah, he's terrible. And then you would go home and say, my neighbor just said Stalin is bad. Lemka, you probably remember these days.
No, I don't. I'm too young.
Oh, that's great. Okay, it's been erased. It's been erased from history. That was something else they did. All right, anyways, the point is that nothing bad was going to happen to her, but simply because you could imagine something bad happening to this girl, it was enough reason to arrest the mom. And as somebody pointed out on my site, the girl was kidnapped. She just happened to be kidnapped by the police, right? And the mother was kidnapped too. So that's an example of imagining the worst. And what I want to do is trace that back a little, because I think you see it at even younger ages in the schools today. Have you guys heard of zero tolerance laws? Yeah. So somebody explain to me what a zero tolerance. Maybe have you experienced any zero tolerance laws? No? Okay. So somebody tell me quickly, like in 2 sentences, what's zero tolerance?
Anti-bullying.
Anti-bullying is one aspect of zero tolerance. Anyone else? It is one. Exactly. And he said it like this. He's right. But he is right. Does that say obey? Like, you could get kicked out for that. Who are you to tell me to obey? His shirt says obey. Unlike the green shirt, which has nothing on it. So zero tolerance is the idea that nothing will be tolerated that is against the rules in a school. And what's terrible about it is that it seems to have gone from zero tolerance for actual bullying or actual bad behavior to zero tolerance for thinking about whether something is really dangerous or not. Once again, zero tolerance has become another part of sociology where we've decided that anything that we can imagine being dangerous is dangerous, whether there's any reality to that at all. So I need a volunteer who doesn't mind eating a little bit of sugar and gluten. It's a Pop-Tart. Okay. No, I want a kid. Sorry, Ma. Sorry, Ma.
I tried.
You tried. I mean, I actually have a lot of Pop-Tarts here. You could all eat. I could have. How many do I have? I have 12 toaster pastries, which means I'm really packing heat. Because last year, a kid was suspended from school because he bit his Pop-Tart into the shape of, he said it was a mountain, but the teacher thought it looked like a gun. So I need somebody here to bite a Pop-Tart into the shape of a gun. Come on. Are you a kid? Are you like one of the kids in the class?
19 years old and just as brightish.
Okay, wait, I'll take 2. You know what? I got a lot of Pop-Tarts. Here, come on up. I'll take 3 of you. 1, 2, 3.
Sorry about that.
We can even have a little contest whose looks most like a gun.
Good. I'll save it into a gewehr.
1 for you. 1 for you.
Thank you.
Did the girl decide not to do it? No. Why don't 3 of you? All right. Are you, all right, you know what? Come on up. You want a Pop-Tart, for God's sake.
Deliciously artificial. I commend you.
Right. Sorry. Pop-Tart for you. Pop-Tart for you. Okay. Scare me. Bite it into a gun. You have to bite it into the shape of a gun. And do it fast, because everybody's waiting while you eat. That's really bad. Oh, I see. No, it's a trigger. Oh, I'm sorry.
Actually, no. If anything, this should be the muzzle.
Okay. That's it. She's gotten it. There you go. All right, look at this. All right, pack heat. Let's see. Right. Okay. Now, oh my God, she's hacking heat. Oh my God, get down. What are you doing? Let's take a vote. Not a vote on who has the best guns, because stop eating already. You're going to eat it into mine's a mini gun. How many? Point them at them. Yeah, really. Are you scared, guys? Is this terrifying? Is it almost a real gun, even though it's made out of a Pop-Tart, and therefore we better send those kids home? Right, well, her I don't trust. But all right, so that's the point. Thank you very much. You get to keep your Pop-Tarts, and if you guys want to try the Pop-Tart experiment later, I did get, it was $3.19 for a small box and $3.99 for a large box, so I ended up with quite a few because I just couldn't see passing up a bargain like that. The point is, so the kid was sent home. Okay, the kid was sent home because he had a weapon. Okay, but that's not a weapon. Okay, just like, if I could go back to the, well, I can't do this, but if you go back to the sleepwalker is not a rapist, okay? And a Pop-Tart is not a gun. But we've decided to see no reality, there's no distinction between fantasizing about something terrible and something actually being terrible. So imagine this, the teacher, the principal wrote this letter home, after the Pop-Tart gun incident. Okay, you want to hear, this is a real letter from the principal. Dear parents and guardians, I am writing to let you know about an incident. By the way, incident is a word that's terrible, okay? Because it exists, things that aren't real issues, things that are not real problems or dangers, if you can say it's an incident, it still has a name and it sounds official, it's an incident, and it becomes real. So when you see the word incident, be suspicious. Okay, I'm writing to let you know about an incident that occurred this morning in one of our classrooms and encourage you to discuss this matter with your child in a manner you deem appropriate. Like it was a teacher found dead in a crack house, okay? This was not a terrible incident, this was a Pop-Tart, okay? During breakfast this morning, one of our students used food to make inappropriate gestures. Inappropriate is the other word that you always have to look out for, because if you can't say something is really bad or dangerous, again, if it's inappropriate, everything is inappropriate, and then it becomes a to-do, and you have to deal with it because it's an incident. There was an inappropriate incident today. It all doesn't matter, but if you can label something, it becomes real. So during breakfast this morning, one of our students used food to make inappropriate gestures that disrupted the class. Of course, they were ducking for cover. While no physical threats were made and no one was harmed, got that? Okay, no threats were made and no one was harmed, the student had to be removed from the classroom. Can we shake our heads? Come on. Right. As you are aware, the student code of conduct says you can't do that, blah, blah, blah. If your children express that they are troubled by today's incident, please talk with them and help them, what?
Understand.
Share their feelings, okay? Because everything is so traumatizing that you must immediately share your feelings, or you're going to be burdened and crippled by those terrified feelings, and soon you won't be able to look at a statue holding a Pop-Tart. Our school counselor is available to meet with any students that have the need to do so next week. That's great. That's what you need therapy for, a Pop-Tart. In general, please remind them of the importance of making good choices. How about reminding the administration of the importance of making good choices and not treating a Pop-Tart like an Uzi, okay? Because that's crazy. And not treating kids who had one wacky morning with a kid waving around a Pop-Tart and then the teacher comes in and the kid's thrown out. They're acting as if the kids just witnessed a beheading of ISIS. And they will need the trauma counselors and the therapy, and they must talk about it. And if they feel the need to unburden themselves, somebody's there. They've made the Pop-Tart into like a nuclear attack. So it's insane. We've criminalized normal childhood behavior, right? And we've victimified, we've turned into victims anyone who witnessed it. There was a similar case in D.C. where a kid didn't even use a Pop-Tart this time. He went like this. And he was thrown out too. And the school administrator explained, quote, generally in an incident involving the behavior of our younger students, we will make sure that the student and his family are well informed of any behavior that needs to change and understand the consequences if that behavior does not change. Yeah, I'm sure he'll be executed with a Pop-Tart. The point is that that was normal behavior. The thing that needs to change is thinking about normal behavior or everyday life in terms of a fantasy of violence. So there was no harm. It was all imaginary harm in both these cases, but it was treated like real harm. Just like on campus, we're treating something that you might see or read or discuss in class with these trigger warnings as if the thoughts are harmful in themselves. So how do we get to the point where we can't distinguish between, this and, an AK-47 or a statue and a rapist? It's because we're at this point in society where we've decided to not see any difference between the teeniest of threats and the most enormous one. And we see this time and again. Anyone ever flown? Have you ever taken a plane? You go through the TSA, right? Do you think the TSA really thinks that you're a danger? Do you think that you pose a danger? How about you? You get patted down these days? I was coming home on Friday from Canada, Winnipeg, where nothing happens, okay? And not only was I went through one thing, one metal detector, and then that wasn't enough, and they wanted me to go through the other one where you go like this, and they made me take off, this was infuriating to me, my watch and this. How could this be a danger? This is the skinniest little necklace ever because they are little stones and they cost a lot of money and that's all my sister would buy me. But anyways, the point is that this is not a danger. And they were acting like, ma'am, you have to wait. you have to stop, you know, and then when it still set something off, they still patted me down. So I went through 3 levels of TSA security clearance before I could get on the plane because they weren't willing to admit that this is pointless. This is stupid. There's no danger posed by middle-aged, scrawny Lenore and her necklace from Winnipeg going back to Minneapolis at that point. But we decided that if there's any tiny little reason of anything, we treat it like a major offense. In Portland last year, a guy was filmed, they caught him peeing into the reservoir. Okay? Blech, right? You don't want somebody peeing into the reservoir. What did they do in Portland, these brilliant people? Close the reservoir. That almost makes sense. No. What did they do? They drained it. How many gallons?
It was thousands and thousands.
It was millions. It was 38 million gallons of water were drained. And I want to ask the people in Portland who made this brilliant decision because one guy peed, what do you think fish do? You know? Well, is there nothing that comes out? Is it all goes in and then they just puff? What?
Birds do
Birds do also. What about all the geese that Winnipeg sends down to Portland, which they deserve? No, I guess Winnipeg deserves them. I mean, there's and also the birds. Yes, I agree. The birds not only pee and poop, they die in it, right? There's dead fish all the time. So the idea of one guy peeing in it, that the one guy's pee, even if he'd had 5 beers, there's still 38 million gallons that it's diluted in, but we don't see the dilution. We just see the danger. We just see the pee. That should be my logo on a T-shirt. Don't see the pee. So that was just one more example, and I know you're getting ready to get me all done, so I'm going to hurry up. But anyways, this is a radical new view of risk. I had somebody write to my website saying, I was saying, like, why don't we let children walk to school? She said, I don't care if the risk is 1 in a billion. That's not a risk I'm willing to take. 1 in a billion is a risk you should all take. You should take 1 in a million risks. They're great risks to take. But if you don't see any difference between 1 in a million and 999,000 in a million, you're wrong. Your nothing is going to be safe enough. So I guess quickly wrapping up, the point is that we've decided that imaginary harm is no different from real harm. Imaginary threats are no different from real threats. Bad thoughts are no different from actually being punched or raped or hurt in some dramatic way. And for some reason, a Pop-Tart gun poses a threat to all children and must immediately be dealt with, preferably with a SWAT team and possibly jail time, like we gave the mom who let her child play in the park. It's all hysteria. There's a difference that we smart people should be seeing between the 1 in a million danger and the true threat, and we have to somehow get that perspective back. And now you will tell me how to do that, because that's my mission, and I haven't figured it out yet. How do we get perspective back and realize that we are not under constant threat, and especially our children and even our college students are not in constant danger? Thank you. The times have changed is what I hear a lot, and when I tell people that's true, crime is down, that's what they don't believe. I mean, crime is literally down. It's in New York, it's down to the level of 1963, which, by the way, gas was 29 cents a gallon back then, and they hadn't invented color TV yet. Okay, so it's a long time ago. That's the rate we're down to, but it doesn't feel like it. I think you're absolutely right that the media will go to the ends of the earth to get the worst stories for us and keep blaring it in our face, and it's 24/7 and it's on the internet, and it feels less safe, even though, ironically, as we get safer, it feels less safe. I think a lot of it is right. I mean, exactly what the woman in the back was saying, that yes, we have these horrible stories. When my mom sent me to walk to school, she couldn't mention, she didn't know the stories of Eitan Pates and J.C. Dugard. They're 3,000 miles apart. But now when you Google, your brain works like Google. And if you say, can my kid go to the bus stop, up come the stories that we've heard the most about. The Eitan Pates, which is back in the media today, or J.C. Dugard, who was taken from her from the bus stop and kept for 18 years. They're easy to find in our brains because they're so unusual, and we've seen pictures of them and stories of them. Your brain cannot bring up the pictures of the tens of millions of children who go to school every day who are not abducted. And because you see these scary stories at the top of your Google search in your brain, you think they're the most relevant, like the top of any Google search, but actually they're the most irrelevant. That's what's bad about media, and it's just it's not even just media today. Media tells you stories of horrible things that are rare. They don't tell you every person who's in a car accident because it's boring, even though you're much more likely to die in a car accident than being kidnapped by some stranger on the street. What she's saying is that after 9/11, everybody thought that the whole city was going to be traumatized to the point where it couldn't function, that the people would be so upset, every individual, that we would need hordes of grief counselors. And it's a testament to the resiliency of the human spirit that, I mean, it was terrible and it was sad and you'd cry. But we went on. And did you read Eat, Pray, Love? Anybody read Eat, Pray, Love? She interviews some kind of like trauma counselor in the book. And this is a person who counsels people who come from the Sudan, where they've seen their families murdered, or places where they were starving, just really people who have been through horrible trauma, like Syria now. And the grief counselor said that generally what they want to talk about is he called me yesterday, but he hasn't called, and I don't know if it's too soon to text because I think he likes me. I mean, as terrible as things are that you can go through, the human spirit prevails. And to act as if the human spirit is so frail that it merely encounters a statue and it can't function anymore, and please take all the statues away because I might feel sad and I can't handle that, is so selling us as a species short, and especially selling women short, and acting as if they're completely vulnerable, when actually I think they can handle a statue just fine, and I think they could even handle worse. Not that I wish that on anybody, but the point is we do rise above these things, and to treat us as fragile all the time is its own insanity. Right, it treats women like they're these Victorian ladies, like, oh, a man in his underwear, whoa, gracious me, cover that up. And then, a boy, I mean, what's interesting, I know there's the sociology class here, and I know you're talking about, criminal issues. One of the terrible things about zero tolerance laws is that if you're in a school that has police officers there, and a kid says, I'm going to kill you, you're driving me crazy, then that's treated as a death threat. And then then you get a rap sheet, and then pretty soon by the third time, you've had a tussle on the playground, and you ate your Pop-Tart into the shape of a gun, and one other incident of you with another kid, suddenly it's like 3 strikes. You are considered a dangerous felon, even though you're just a kid being, bored at school and playing at some point. And so that becomes the school to prison pipeline. Is if we pathologize any kind of rough and tumble play as dangerous and violent, then you can start seeing kids get treated as if they're criminals when they're just kids, and when they're male kids. One of the points I sometimes make is that when you think back on your childhood and the moment that you remember best and are most proud of, it's often something that, I'd say it's always, something that you did by yourself. Right? You weren't supervised, you weren't holding your mother's hand, your mother might not know about it, she might still not know about what you did, and maybe you shouldn't tell her. But the point is that why are we taking all these things out of their lives and replacing it with complete supervision, surveillance, care, concern, worry, hovering, as if that's the best thing for all of us from childhood up through college, when actually what's really great for people of any age is to do things on their own and rise to what they can do and feel proud about themselves. Look back and say, oh, I did that, or I got lost and I got back, or I was 12 and I went to see this gigantic ship, with my friend, and it was one of the prouder moments of my life. After I let Izzy ride the subway by himself and I wrote the story about it, a man, Irving from Queens, called me up out of the blue, and I'm like, I didn't know Irving from Queens, but he called me up because he said that when I was 10, I took the subway by myself, and it was at Hanukkah time. I was going to my grandmother's in the Bronx, and it was snowing, and I had to take my 8-year-old sister with me, and we stood at the front of the train, and he's talking and talking, and I was like, that's very nice. When was it? 1929. 1929. He was 90 when he called me, and it was such an important memory to him, this time when his mother trusted him to be out in the world, not to be protected, to be out there, that he had to share it. And he was a great-grandfather by this point, and he'd fought in World War II. But he had to call up this stranger just to exult in the fact that his mother trusted him. His mother trusted the world. She trusted New York. She trusted the subways. And 80 years later, he had to talk about it. So that's, unless you have another question, that's what I'll just leave you with. This idea that we're protecting people not only from minor dangers or unlikely dangers, but imaginary dangers, and we're dreaming up new dangers so that we can protect them. it's all a vision of the world that is so at odds with reality. We're lucky to be living in such safe times, and we're lucky to be humans who can roll with the punches, who can rise from a bad occasion, who can deal with a little adversity and come out, if not stronger, at least just fine, and not shattered like this poor lady here. So thank you very much.